Cronenberg elevated the horror genre to a more intellectual level. His films explore the psychological and behavioral aspects of identity, family, violence, and sexuality. These 5 films showcase why Cronenberg is a master of his craft. By 1983, David Cronenberg had already directed 8 feature films, earning critical acclaim and several awards for his work. Most of these films fell into the body horror subgenre, solidifying his reputation as a master of the genre. The Dead Zone was Cronenberg's first film not based on an original screenplay, and some fans found it too polished and Hollywood-like. But this time, he wasn't exploring his usual themes of internal and external transformation. Instead, his goal was to create a strong adaptation of Stephen King's bestseller. Even before production began, the script went through 3 different rewrites, including one by King himself. Cronenberg sent it back for revisions 4 more times, cutting a significant number of plot elements to refine the story. Unnecessary details were stripped away, but the novel's original atmosphere remained intact. This meticulous approach to the script may have been the key to the film's success. Decades after its release, The Dead Zone is still considered one of the best adaptations of Stephen King's work. When Cronenberg was offered the chance to direct The Fly, he had already been working on preparations for Total Recall for quite some time. The director had written several drafts of the script, visited Rome and Tunisia for location scouting, and was nearly ready to start casting when it became clear that he and producer Dino De Laurentiis couldn't agree on the film's final concept. Suddenly, in the peak of his career, Cronenberg found himself in Los Angeles, out of work and low on funds. At this point, producers Mel Brooks and Stuart Kornfeld approached Cronenberg with the idea of directing The Fly. Cronenberg rewrote the script, assembled a team, and began casting. Jeff Goldblum was quickly cast as Seth Brundle, the eccentric scientist who accidentally begins transforming into an insect. The Fly is often called Cronenberg's most mainstream film, mostly because it grossed $60 million against a $9 million budget and won an Academy Award for Best Makeup. But in reality, The Fly is just as complex and uncompromising as any of his other films. It's just that in this case, the director found a way to present his favorite themes in a way that audiences unexpectedly found acceptable. Elliot and Beverly Mantle are identical twins who have built an incredibly successful medical career based on a childhood fascination with reproductive biology. For years, they live and work in harmony. Shy Beverly is deeply immersed in science, while the more cynical and outgoing Elliot seduces patients, then passes them on to his brother once he's lost interest. Their routine is shattered when actress Claire Neveu visits their clinic, and Beverly falls in love with her. Dead Ringers is based on the true story of twins Stuart and Cyril Marcus, and raises the same themes Cronenberg explored in The Fly: jealousy, love triangles, obsession, and death. But it's also a simple story about the dependency 2 people have on each other and how emotions make us painfully vulnerable, ultimately leading to destruction. Cronenberg had a hard time convincing sponsors of the project's value. The studio wasn't happy with the dark ending, the characters' drug use, or even their professions. But he was determined. He founded his own production company to make the film. In the end, he managed to release it with only one change. The original title, Twins, was changed to Dead Ringers to avoid confusion with Ivan Reitman's comedy Twins, which starred Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger and was set to release the same year. In Spider, Cronenberg returned to the psychological thriller genre to tell the story of Dennis Clegg, a schizophrenic man released from a London psychiatric institution who begins to be haunted by traumatic childhood memories. The past and present intricately intertwine in the mind of the protagonist, and the audience is left to helplessly observe the unfolding events through the eyes of a psychologically tormented individual. In Spider, Cronenberg steers clear of special effects and stunts, immersing the viewer in the tragic world of a schizophrenic solely through the performances of the actors. Cronenberg is often praised for the philosophical aspects of his films, but Spider highlights another undeniable talent of the director: his exceptional work with actors. He is able to draw out the best performances from his cast. In 2005, David Cronenberg directed one of his most commercially successful and conceptually accessible films, the crime thriller A History of Violence, starring Viggo Mortensen in the lead role. The film's protagonist, Tom Stoll, is a modest diner owner, a loving husband and father, whose peaceful life is turned upside down when two criminals attempt to rob him. After dispatching the attackers, Tom becomes a local hero, garnering the attention of the press and the admiration of the community. However, this unwanted fame brings him into the spotlight of those he has been hiding from for over 20 years. The film begins as a simple drama set in a small American town, but gradually its tone shifts, taking on a more cynical, noir-like atmosphere. Cronenberg deliberately avoided using slow motion in the action scenes to make the violence depicted as raw and realistic, far removed from the stylized cinematic violence we're accustomed to. The brutality is portrayed as an inherent part of human nature. Like all of Cronenberg's films, this one raises two fundamental questions. Who are we and what is our true nature? For over 90 minutes, Viggo Mortensen's character explores just how far a person is willing to go for survival.